So this is what you're gonna do, but don't worry if it doesn't look exactly like this. I did this digitally and I had quite a bit of time to work on it. And so what we're gonna do is we're kind of gonna break down Santa into different shapes. So like we're gonna work on his head and his body. And what we're gonna do is, so just like a house, what you do is you have the foundation, and then you build walls, and you have drywall and all that. So you do the same for a drawing. So what we're gonna do first is draw the very preliminary shapes. And when you're drawing it, do it very lightly, okay? So keep this in mind as we're drawing the shapes. So what I want you to do is draw this simple shape. This is like the whole body of Santa, and then this is the head. Okay. So I'm going to draw it over here, but you're not going to see it that well. So what I'm going to do is, so just focus over here, but I'm going to draw alongside of you. So also when you're drawing the circle, it doesn't have to be a perfect circle like this. I did this on the computer and just printed it out. Okay. So look, well, you can't even really see mine, but it's just a very, very basic shape. And then don't press too hard on your pencil because you're going to be erasing it. So you don't want to do that. Okay. So I'll just give you a few seconds to do that. And it doesn't even have to look, it's just, so why we're doing these basic under drawings is you're just essentially using it as a guideline. Okay. So I think you have enough time to do that. Okay. So, make sure I got this in the right order. Okay, we got it in the right order. Alrighty. So I simplified it a little bit more, or I sped it up a tiny bit. I mean more. We're drawing the front right here, the front of the face. So this line indicates where the face is actually going to be. And then we're just drawing where the eyes are going to be. So we're just doing a very, 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 very basic line just to have an idea where we're going to put the features on the face. Okay. And then I'm just going to put this line here to kind of show where we're going to put the ear. Okay. So I'll give you a few minutes for that. So far, it doesn't look like anything, but this is again just the preliminary drawing of Santa. Okay, I'll give you a little bit of time to work on that. And then the next step is we're going to kind of work on the milk and cookies that he was carrying. So we'll do that next. And if you have any questions, feel free to write it in the chat, or if you're watching this on YouTube, feel free to leave a comment below. All right. Give you just 30 seconds. All right. Okay, let's move on to the next thing. Okay. So I'll give you a little bit more time for this. What we're gonna do is we're drawing the glass, milk glass, and the cookies right here. So I'm just very lightly drawing the cookies and the glass. Okay. So I'll give you a couple minutes for this because it's a little bit more complicated. And let me know if I'm going too fast for you. And if you're watching this on YouTube, just feel free to pause it and then work on it. So we're just very, very lightly figuring out where we're putting things. And it's not going to look perfect. And Also, the Santa that I'm drawing here isn't going to look exactly like my Santa I did digitally. Um, Sometimes when I'm working digitally, I have a lot more advantage than when I'm working traditionally. Like I can adjust things, I can make it draw a perfect circle. So, don't worry if it doesn't look perfect. Um, and honestly, no two artists ever draw exactly the same. So don't worry if you're drawing it exactly like how I'm doing it. The main objective is just to interpret it how you would like, not how exactly you're not. Your objective isn't to be like a copy machine. It's to draw your interpretation of it. This is just a guideline of how to draw your Santa. Okay, I'll just give you a minute or so more. Um, and Yeah, and also when we get to the inking and coloring stage, you can kind of interpret it how you like. So, for instance, if you want to, color with crayons or color pencils or watercolor or do it digitally, you're totally fine to do that. All right, I'll give you like a minute more. And I think the next step is we're going to be working on the hands. But just remember to keep this really light right now. And even when we get to the penciling stage, this is really the underdrawing, so this is more of a rough. When we get to the penciling stage, just just also keep it light because we're going to be inking on top of it, and we want to erase the pencils underneath. Okay, so don't press down with your pencil. If you're probably using, if you're using a standard drawing pencil, you're probably using HB. That's fine. You want to use like a harder lead, I think. Yeah. All right, let's move on. Okay. So what we're gonna draw now are the hands. Okay, so this is a little bit more complicated. So, if on your hand you have different digits on your hand, so you just break it up into shapes. Okay. So, like I was mentioning it in the beginning, so you want to just break it up into shapes. Okay. So just take your time. I'll give you more time for this. It doesn't have to be exactly perfect. Okay. I'll give you a couple minutes for this because it's a little bit more complicated, but just keep in mind to keep it light and don't worry if it doesn't look perfect. And again, if you have any questions, just please leave a comment in the chat or a comment. Or if you're watching on YouTube again, feel free to leave a comment on the YouTube page. All right. And it's 4:17. We'll move on. Okay. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to draw basic Christmas tree, and we're already going pretty quickly. Um, so this part is really simple, but when you're actually penciling and inking, it's going to take a while, and we're going to have plenty of time for that. Um, and when we're coloring, it's going to take time. So that's really the time-consuming thing. This thing is really quick. And again, when I'm drawing this, I'm not trying to copy what I did before. I'm just kind of do something different. So that'll take you a second to do. So all you're doing is the top of the Christmas tree and the star. Again, don't make it this dark. This is just so you can see it. Make it light like this. Okay. All right. I'll give you till 4:19. Okay. All right. So I don't get overwhelmed though. We're going to be drawing Santa, but when you're drawing it, it has to be kind of this light. All right. So you want to draw it very lightly. Okay. But also, it's going to look like more like this, really, to be honest, because you have your underdrawing here. Okay. And you're drawing on top of the underdrawing. And where you drew like the line right here, that is where the eyes are. So it's kind of like a guideline. So like how I was saying, when you're building a house, you're building the foundation, and you're building the walls and the drywall and everything. You're doing the same thing with this particular drawing. Okay, so don't get overwhelmed. Just follow follow your guidelines. So I'm going to show you the more clean version, okay? But it's going to look, again, it's going to look more like this, okay? All right? So we'll just, so this is going to take a little bit. You definitely should have a good amount of time. I guess like 10, 15 minutes on this stage. And when you're drawing it, draw it very lightly. So it should look like this. Okay. All right. So this Santa that I'm drawing is more cartoony than this version. It's okay. It's there's no right or wrong reason. And like I was mentioning, I'm trying to make it look different than this version. Um, because it's kind of boring if I just exactly copy it. And plus I have more of an advantage when I draw digitally because you have a lot more tools at your disposal. So when it hits about 4:35, we'll move on to the inking stage. And if you need more time, feel free. If you're watching it, if you're participating, feel free to continue working on the penciling stage, and then come back to the inking stage and the coloring stage. If you're watching it on YouTube, you can pause it. I think I'm about ready to ink it. So I'll just let you guys have about 7 minutes, and then we'll work on the inking stage. I'm just gonna get my pens all ready. So at 4:35, we'll move on to inking, and then we'll ink about 20 minutes, and then, well, no, we'll ink about 25 minutes, and then we'll color for the last 30 minutes of the program. All right, so 3 more minutes, guys. Uh, 2 more minutes. One more minute. All right. So what we're going to do now is actually ink our lines. I'm going to show you a little bit closer to the camera. So can you kind of see that? All right, so that's what we're gonna do. It's okay if it doesn't look exactly like this. I had a lot of time to work on it, so don't feel bad if it doesn't look exactly like this. Okay? All right. So what I would recommend is using a something that's thinner for the initial lines. Um, I'm gonna just use, I think, a Sharpie one. I can even use these microns. So called microns. So you could do that for like the very little details. And honestly, I'm probably not going to finish by the time 4 or 5 o'clock comes around uh, because we have limited time for this program. So don't feel bad if you don't finish. I don't think I'm going to completely finish either. Yeah. So I made a mistake right here. When you work digitally, you can just go back and fix that. So if you're drawing traditionally, you need whiteout usually to fix little mistakes. Um, so that's kind of the advantage of drawing digitally, is that you can totally just go back and fix it instantly. You could also scan in an image and then fix it digitally, but this is just really an exercise. We don't have to make it exactly perfect. And there's no way we can finish all these little details that I have here. It's amount of time, but we're just having fun. So this Santa does look a lot different than this one, huh? It's okay. That is what I intended to do. Because I didn't want to just copy it. And plus, it's different materials. Like I said, I drew this digitally, and this is just with markers. So there's no way it's going to look exactly the same. Um, Also, so we're trying to kind of make a light source. So if you want to add more shadows on this particular side, that's a good idea. And again, if you don't finish it, like I'm not going to finish completely, it's okay. Just continue working on it as I go through the coloring stage. We still have 14 minutes, so we still have a good amount of time. So I'm just trying to get all the little details done as much as I can. Um, or essentially the overall details I want to get done. I was going to draw the ornaments, but I think I'm just going to draw a tree first. Maybe use a thinner pen. Okay. This star looks a little off, but um, that's okay. If I was drawing it digitally, I could just fix it, but that's okay. Traditional is also fun. I don't mean to disparage traditional a lot. There's a lot of cool traditional artists out there. Pretty much when I draw commissions, what I do is I print them out, or I draw them digitally, just the pencils, right? And then I print it out on blue line paper and then I ink on top of it. And when you scan it in, you can't even, you don't see the blue. And then when they receive it, you don't really even see the blue underneath. So that's a cool trick I do. But most of my work that I do for my comic book work, I draw digitally. Um, I do a little bit of design work. That's, of course, with Adobe Illustrator. Um, so yeah, it seems like, and honestly, digital is just another tool. It doesn't make you any better or worse of an artist. It's just how you use the tool. But there are certain advantages once you get used to working digitally. I work on Clip Studio Paint for my illustration work, which used to be called Manga Studios. That seems to be a popular one um, for most artists. Also, I still use Photoshop for, there's particular brushes I really like. So I use that one as well. All right, so we still have 9 minutes. Actually, we're doing really good on time. I was kind of expecting this to take longer, but we're doing pretty good. I'm just gonna fill in his mouth here. I guess I'll film this. Alrighty. Hope you guys are having fun. I'm enjoying doing this. This is cool. I hope everyone has a really good Christmas or Hanukkah. She's celebrating Hanukkah. Well, I guess Hanukkah already passed. Well, I hope you had a good Hanukkah if you celebrate Hanukkah. Alrighty. So we have 6 minutes. We're doing okay. So we have plenty of time to work on this. I'm just going to add little details here and there till the clock runs out. And then what I'm going to do is actually color pencil and watercolor on this particular paper. And then for the last about 15 minutes, I'll start to draw it digitally. We're not going to have time to finish coloring everything, unfortunately, but that's okay. Just kind of adding little lines here and there. My cat over here just woke up. Stay over there. I'll be back. One. Okay. Sorry about that. So we have about 2 minutes. I think this Santa looks a little. He looks pretty. He looks decent, but it's a little scraggly here. That's okay. So 2 more minutes. And so what I want you to do is once you're done inking, you just let it sit for a minute or so, or maybe 30 seconds, and then let the ink settle and then erase the pencils that are underneath. There you got 1 minute. Let me go ahead and get my color pencils already. All right, you have 1 minute, and then we will work on the coloring stage. Um, get all this ready. Hope you guys are having fun. Okay, ready. Open this thing. Okay, so what we want to do now is color our Santa. All right. So what I'm gonna do, use these color pencils. I'm just gonna play around with these color pencils, and I have this little nice watercolor set on here for about 15 minutes. Let's see, what color should I use? We'll just play around with the colors a little bit. So maybe I'll start with his hat. So just feel free to fool around with the colors. There's no right or wrong colors. You could even do colors not really associated with Santa. That's fine. So about 7 minutes of color pencils and then about 7 minutes of watercolor. 7.5. All right, I'm gonna try to find. Yeah. So 2 more minutes of color pencils. Switch. I'm just gonna kind of mess around with the colors. So you also kind of want to make your light source coming from here and then the darker side over here. So keep that in mind when you're coloring. All right, about 1 more minute. Then I'm going to mess around with the watercolors. I think let's make it a table a little wobbly. So careful. Okay. All righty. So now I'm going to switch to some. I'm just going to play around with the watercolors. It does not have to be perfect. This is just totally for fun. All right. I'm just going to mess with his skin. Well, let's muddy it a little bit. Maybe we'll do the tree. How about the tree? And then in about 7 minutes, we're going to then go to the iPad and color digitally a little bit. If you notice, it's gonna totally buckle. I don't know how well this is gonna work, but we'll just mess with it. Yeah, it's a little bit muddy too. Just play around with it. Yeah. Well, so it's printed on computer paper, so it's not watercolor paper, so it's not gonna look ideal, but just for demonstration purposes, we're just gonna deal with it. So we're gonna stop about 5:14 and then switch to the digital version. Yeah, it's looking a little muddy on my side, but that's okay. I don't know if it's working perfectly on this paper. It's looking a little muddy. That's okay. I think the color pencils worked a little better on this paper. What? Looks a little better. Yeah, it's looking a little muddy like over here. Uh, well, we'll just play around with it. Yeah, see how it kind of seeps through the paper? Oh, well. It's okay. Yeah, I don't know how well this is working. I might switch to digital. Okay, so I'm just gonna mess with the colors here. Um, okay.
Okay.
Nope. Let's get a brush that looks like this. So I'm just gonna kind of mess with it and have fun with it. Um, so I'm just using a gouache brush. And this program I'm using is called Clip Studio Paint. It's on the iPad. What I'm doing here is just filling in the colors. And I'll kind of tidy it up later. Let's see. That's a decent skin tone. So we're just kind of playing around with it. And this brush is kind of cool because you can kind of blend the colors together. Lorraine? Hello?
I'm sorry, this mute thing isn't cooperating with me, Orion. It keeps getting stuck.
Okay.
Are we finishing up the class?
Yeah, I think it stopped on my end. I'm not sure what happened.
I'm not sure either. Well, I think we can call it a day, and people who are still on can finish their drawings and their colorings at home, and we'll also have this on YouTube up in a couple of days if you want to take a look at it again. And stay tuned in the calendar, check out the calendar for February and March. We're hoping Orion's going to teach some classes at Rust Library in person, actually. All right, thank you all so much for attending, and thank you, Orion. That's a cool looking Santa.
Thank you.